Another popular animal product in South Africa is poultry meat. And now that $20 billion market is at the center of a trade disagreement with the U.S. The U.S. is warning South Africa that it could lose a lucrative trade deal if it doesn't open up that market.
Welcome back. The dispute between South Africa and the United States over chicken import duties continues to hang over South Africa's extended inclusion in the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. Two United States senators have threatened to try to block South Africa from the lucrative US-Africa trade agreement if the country doesn't lift import duties on cheaper cuts of chicken.
Global shockwaves are hitting the poultry market. South Africa has just banned US chicken imports, slamming American exporters with a $450 million loss. Local farmers are thriving, global markets are trembling, and Washington is scrambling. Could this be the start of Africa rewriting the rules of trade? Stay tuned. This is a story of power, politics, and poultry like you've never seen.
Global shock. South Africa crushes U.S. chicken imports. $450 million loss for America. The world is reeling. South Africa, long seen as a key player in Africa's agricultural landscape, has struck a blow that sent shockwaves through global markets. A decisive ban on U.S. chicken imports. This is not just a trade dispute. It is a moment that challenges decades of U.S. trade dominance and showcases Africa's growing economic assertiveness. In a move that stunned Washington and reverberated across the international community, South Africa has prioritized the protection of its domestic farmers over imported poultry, setting the stage for a high-stakes geopolitical drama. From the bustling ports of Durban to the sprawling farmlands of Mpumalanga, South Africa's decision has sent a ripple of tension through both continents. Local farmers, who have long struggled against cheap imports flooding their markets, now find a lifeline. Poultry producers, once facing existential threats from U.S. competitors, are suddenly poised for a renaissance. Prices for local chicken are rising, supply chains are recalibrating, and investors are taking notice. For South Africa, this is more than an economic maneuver. It is a declaration of sovereignty, a bold assertion that domestic interests can and will shape trade policy. Across the Atlantic, the impact is immediate and undeniable. The United States, accustomed to dominating global poultry exports, faces a staggering $450 million loss. Contracts have been canceled, shipments rerouted, and market forecasts thrown into disarray. Analysts describe it as one of the most significant disruptions to U.S. agricultural exports in recent memory. The sudden vacuum in South African markets is forcing American producers to seek alternative buyers, driving competition and eroding profit margins. For Washington, it is a reminder that trade is not a one-way street, and even the most established exporters can be blindsided. South Africa's strategy is rooted in a complex web of economic and political considerations. Local poultry farmers, many of whom operate family-owned farms that have been under pressure from cheap U.S. imports for years, were struggling to stay afloat. Domestic supply chains, reliant on the output of these farms, were threatened. By imposing the ban, South Africa's government sent a clear message. The nation will safeguard its agricultural heritage, protect local jobs, and assert control over food security. The decision has energized local industry, leading to expansion plans, job creation, and renewed confidence in the domestic market. The ban also exposes fault lines in the global trade system. U.S. exporters, long confident in their ability to penetrate markets worldwide, are now confronting an unexpected adversary. South Africa's move has sparked a wave of commentary from international observers. Economists warn that this could inspire similar actions in other African nations, reshaping trade flows and challenging U.S. influence. Global markets, attuned to disruptions in supply chains, reacted swiftly. Commodity traders adjusted prices, investors recalculated risk, and analysts predicted potential ripple effects across related sectors, from feed production to transportation. The geopolitical implications are equally striking. South Africa's assertiveness signals a broader trend. Emerging economies are willing to challenge traditional power structures when national interests are at stake. The poultry ban is more than a domestic policy. It is a statement that African nations are capable of influencing global trade dynamics. For decades, The United States and other Western powers have assumed a position of unchallenged authority in agricultural exports. South Africa's move, however, illustrates that strategic policy choices can upend expectations, forcing established powers to recalibrate their approach. In the immediate aftermath of the ban, global attention has turned to the South African poultry sector. Investors, both domestic and international, are scrutinizing the opportunities presented by a more protected market. Local producers, some of whom had been teetering on the edge of closure, now see prospects for expansion. Supply chains are adapting to increased demand for homegrown chicken, stimulating ancillary industries such as feed manufacturing, logistics, and retail distribution. The economic energy generated by this policy is palpable, and the stakes have never been higher. Meanwhile, U.S. officials are grappling with the fallout. The loss of $450 million is more than a mere statistic. It represents real contracts, real workers, and real communities affected by disrupted trade. American producers are exploring alternative markets in Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, but the logistical challenges are immense. Shipping costs, regulatory hurdles, and competition from local producers in these regions complicate efforts to recover lost revenue. The situation underscores the vulnerability of export-dependent industries when faced with assertive trade policies abroad. The narrative unfolding between South Africa and the United States is emblematic of a shifting global economic order. Historically, U.S. poultry exports enjoyed a near monopoly in many international markets. Their dominance was underpinned by economies of scale, advanced production techniques, and aggressive trade diplomacy. South Africa's decision disrupts this narrative, demonstrating that strategic intervention in domestic markets can tilt the balance of power. Other nations are watching closely, taking notes on how protective policies, coupled with political resolve, can recalibrate global trade relationships. International reaction has been swift and multifaceted. European Union officials have expressed cautious interest, weighing the implications for their own trade strategies. African nations have lauded South Africa's move as a model of agricultural self-determination. Meanwhile, global media outlets have framed the ban as a David versus Goliath scenario, where an emerging economy challenges the entrenched might of a superpower. The storyline has captured the imagination of markets and policymakers alike, sparking debates about fairness, sovereignty, and the future of trade. For South Africa, the decision is about more than short-term economic gains. It is about long-term resilience. The poultry sector is being revitalized, and domestic capacity is being strengthened. The ban has catalyzed innovation in farming techniques, logistics, and marketing strategies. By reducing dependence on imports, South Africa is not only protecting farmers, but also building a foundation for self-reliance. This strategic pivot has broad implications for food security, rural employment, and economic diversification, positioning the nation as a leader in agricultural reform. The United States, by contrast, faces a cautionary tale. Reliance on established export markets has been exposed as a vulnerability. The sudden disruption caused by South Africa's ban underscores the risks inherent in global supply chains. American producers must now navigate a more complex landscape, where traditional assumptions about market access no longer hold. The $450 million loss is a stark reminder that even the most powerful exporters can be challenged by nimble, strategic policy decisions elsewhere in the world. Analysts suggest that South Africa's bold stance could inspire a wave of similar measures across the continent. As other African nations observe the economic and political benefits of protecting domestic agriculture, pressure may mount to adopt comparable policies. Such a trend would recalibrate trade flows, reduce reliance on external suppliers, and strengthen intra-African commerce. The potential for a new era of regional empowerment is real, and the global implications are profound. The drama extends beyond economics into the realm of geopolitics. South Africa's actions have prompted discussions about the balance of power in international trade negotiations. By asserting control over import policies, the nation is signaling a willingness to challenge norms and demand equitable treatment. This stance resonates not only in Africa, but across emerging markets worldwide, where similar frustrations with trade imbalances have been simmering for years. The poultry ban is a symbol of resistance, a demonstration that global rules are not immutable. Investors, traders, and policymakers are all recalibrating strategies in response. Market volatility has increased, reflecting uncertainty about the ripple effects of South Africa's decision. Supply chains are under scrutiny, and contingency plans are being developed to mitigate potential disruptions. The intersection of economic strategy and political will has never been more visible, and the stakes are extraordinarily high. For South Africa, the immediate challenge is to ensure that the domestic sector can meet increased demand while maintaining quality and efficiency. Local farmers, once marginalized by global competition, are now the focal point of a national resurgence. Investments in modernized facilities, improved breeding techniques, and enhanced distribution networks are on the rise. Jobs are being created, rural economies are strengthening, and the agricultural sector is gaining newfound prestige. For the first time in decades, South African poultry producers are experiencing the full benefits of protective policy measures, and the momentum shows no signs of slowing. On the global stage, the narrative is clear: a significant power shift is underway. The United States, while still a dominant force, must contend with rising challenges from assertive nations willing to safeguard their domestic interests. South Africa's move has illuminated the fragility of established trade hierarchies and the potential for emerging markets to assert influence. As the story unfolds, markets, governments, and international organizations are all reevaluating assumptions about power, trade, and economic strategy. The consequences extend into the broader food industry. Distributors, retailers, and logistics companies are all adapting to a market where local production takes precedence over imported goods. Price structures are shifting, consumer behavior is evolving, and competitive dynamics are in flux. The interconnectedness of global supply chains means that the South African poultry ban is felt far beyond national borders, influencing decisions and strategies in regions thousands of miles away. Strategists argue that the $450 million loss